Hello, welcome to another episode of the Chaplain's Den. Today I'm talking about something on a more personal aspect, something that I think impacts us all, whether we're Christians or not. But this one's definitely more of how Christians deal with stuff and what's appropriate in how we deal with stuff. And it's the question of, is it appropriate? Is it acceptable? Is it okay for a Christian to mourn a loved one, to cry over a loved one? This is one of those interesting questions that, sometimes we look at a question and there's a lot of time where we get information from hypocrites in the church, or we get stuff from people that, they put religion over the love aspect. There's people that they just want to seem more knowledgeable about stuff. They often get things wrong for that reason. But I think a lot of the time people go into it with the idea that this is what we believe is acceptable. And it's not that they're trying to mislead you. They're just not correct themselves. And I think where a lot of the thinking comes from of that Christians shouldn't cry, it's an interesting thing because it's a question that I have for a lot of pastors. I was told as a pastor, you should never show emotion if you're doing a funeral. You should never show emotion. And in a sense, I get that, because you want to show the strength in your faith, in the fact that, God is in control. Everything happens for a reason. We have the divine comfort. There's all those reasons. I think the problem that I wrestle with I went to the funeral of a friend, and I was a pastor at the time. I wasn't doing the funeral, but I was a pastor at the time. But I did get emotional at the funeral. I'll tell you really quick. It's an interesting thing. A lot of the time, I'm not big on funerals. Sometimes they do more harm than good. This was one where a guy was really, he was really kind of cut off from his family. And he knew that was his fault. And he used to write country songs. And a lot of people didn't know that he wrote country songs. But he wrote country songs. He kept them all to himself. So when he passed away, the lady who was his ex-wife now, they were still really close friends. She read some of these songs at his funeral. And so he's writing a song to his son, never expecting his son to hear it, about the fact that they're separate and they're distant. And he knows that that's his fault. And he knows he has issues, that he just can't accept things about other people. And he writes about here's this guy that's written to all these different family members, songs that he never thought they would know, but saying like, I wish we could have that better relationship. And I know that's on me. And that really hit a lot of people. And you really feel that emotion. And, there's an aspect, it's like when you have a friend that's kind of a jerk, but there's that other side to them. And that was one funeral that I think was so key in helping the family. I mean, it was so great for helping the family in dealing with their loss and in, kind of healing that relationship. But I didn't feel like, well, I'll tell you, for me, see, God's always put it on my heart from the time I started ministry that always be genuine, always be yourself. That's always, I deal with a lot of people. If I'm faking any way, they know it. That's it. You're done. Right. So I've always been very much guided to be myself no matter what. And so that's something that I've always had an issue with pastors. I think, are we focusing so much on the religion that we're forgetting the love, that we're putting all that other side? If I go into something and say, okay, I'm not going to be the way that I feel, am I being honest? Am I pushing that line? Am I crossing that line of where I'm trying to do the performance above the duty? I think of a time where I was getting an award from somebody, and a lot of people were disappointed because that person got all emotional and kind of messed up their whole speech. And to me, the fact that that person got emotional and showed that he cared for me, he had kind of that, with guys, we don't have that comfy, cozy relationship a lot of the time, right? Guys, a lot of time have that kind of what they call a parallel relationship. You don't speak about a lot of stuff. So to know that he considered me as big an impact on his life as vice versa, that meant more to me than whatever he would hype me up in this award ceremony. So I'll tell you to answer the question, if you've got a loved one, because I have somebody that I cared deeply, deeply about that I lost recently. And I've had a couple of friends that have gone through the same thing. And one of them raised that question, like, because they're a newer Christian, somebody told me that I shouldn't cry over that person. God's got it, etc., etc., etc. Is it right for me to cry, or am I being inappropriate? Well, I've wrestled with it myself, and I've kind of come up, like I say, I always try to, sometimes you can come up with a simple answer that just, boom, that's it. And for me, the simple answer is this. So after I lost my mother, I had that question, like I lost it at the funeral. That was extremely hard for me. Realized, you start to realize how much people mean to you at those points in time. And I think we have emotions for different things. I think we have, there's 100 different thoughts going through your head. You're going to miss that person. You're starting to realize how important they were to you. You realize times that you took them for granted. There's all the different emotions. But the key for me was the question of loss. And some people will say, well, as Christians, we don't lose them. Well, if they're a Christian and they go to heaven, and then we're a Christian and we go to heaven, then we're going to see them again. So it's not the fact that you lose them. No. But let's say, for example, that you were going to, let's say you're going to go somewhere, I don't know, you're going to go away to college for several years, or for some reason this person's going to go away for several years. Are you going to miss them? Of course you're going to miss them. Absolutely, you're going to miss them. So when you're saying goodbye, is it going to be an emotional thing? Well, yeah, obviously, if you love the person and they love you and you have a strong connection, obviously you're going to miss them. Obviously, it's going to be emotional. There's all that feeling mixed up there. So would you say that at that point in time that it was wrong to be emotional? No, that would be normal. Well, so even if you know that you're going to see this person again in heaven, doesn't that mean for the years that you're separated that it's fine to have an emotional reaction? Right? I think it is. I think obviously it is. I think that's just the simplest way to look at it. If nothing else, as long as I'm on earth, those are going to be years that I don't get to see my mother. I don't get to see my grandparents. I don't get to see other family members. I don't get to see other friends. Like I say, I had a really good friend who had a big impact on my life when I was very young. And you realize that I'm never going to see him again. Oh, but you're going to see him someday, when you get to heaven, because he was a good Christian man, and he's in heaven. Someday I will see him again, but for the rest of my life, I will never see him again. So when we think of that simply, I think that's it. The fact that we know we're going to go long periods of time. I remember the first night when after my little guy was born, the first night away, I had to do a meeting for a chaplain's thing, and I'd seen him in the day, but it was the first time that I was away from him for even part of the day. And wow, that really hit me as a parent, because you're always with him, you're always watching him, you're always protecting him, you're always taking care of him. And, even though he's home safe with mom, I mean, it's just, it's funny how things hit you. So I think that's it. It's not a negative reaction. It comes out of love. And I think we've gotten, it's interesting because when you read the Bible, there's a lot of times that people cry, and it's not a weak thing. And I think that's one thing we focus so much on. It's funny that we've added that to the male aspect in society, and now it's gone on to the female. If you're a strong woman, you shouldn't cry, and I mean, it gets ridiculous, right? Which always brings me back to the fact of being yourself. And I think the most important thing is here's the thing. When you're dealing with a loss, are you normal, or are you hurting and broken? You're hurting and broken. So why would you expect yourself to be normal in that situation? And why should others expect you to be normal in that situation? That makes no sense. So if you're hurting and you're broken, if you twist an ankle, for somebody to expect you to walk without a limp is dumb, right? If you're experiencing loss, for somebody to expect you to act as if everything's normal and everything's good, that's dumb, right? And that's not being loving at all. That's focusing on being showy and image and everything else. And of course, now we know a lot of the time with mental health, I mean, it's better that you deal with those emotions than you pack them away. The people that pack them away, they're dealing with them further down the road. So better to get some of it out and deal with it right away. The other example I want to give you is a great one. It comes from the Bible, and it's Jesus. And so we see it's in John chapter 11. We have the simplest, easiest Bible verse to ever remember, and yet one of the most important. And it's 11:35, and it's simply, Jesus wept. So let me give you the background. There's a man by the name of Lazarus. He's passed away. Jesus knew this was going to happen. His sisters, Jesus comes to the area. The man's sisters come to Jesus. They're completely emotional. All the friends and family, completely emotional. Jesus is going to where he is. Now, Jesus knows why this happened. He knew it was going to happen. He knows it's all part of the plan. He knows everything's going to be good in the end. He knows, right? He has 100% reasons why he should be like, hey, this is actually completely fine. Nothing to be upset about. And you know what the Bible tells us? He's feeling the emotions of all the other people. And because he loves them so much, and because he understands them and empathizes with them so much, that Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, in that moment, openly cried because he was feeling the love and pain that everybody else was going through. And for that reason, he didn't say, I'm going to show that, I trust in, everyone should trust in the faith and trust in me and know that everything's going to be all right. And this is my opportunity to preach to them about whatever. No, he understood exactly what they were going through. And he took so much of that into his own heart that he openly cried alongside them. So I think if Christians are followers of Jesus, if Jesus can look at a situation and openly cry because of the love and unfortunately the hurt that goes along with love when love is ended, or when there's an issue, something that affects us, or we lose somebody, that's a normal thing. So that's the example that we follow. So if you lose somebody and you have moments of pain and hurt, by all means, take it to God. Take it to God in prayer, because there's your example that he understands it. He's more than willing and wanting to help you with it because he feels it as well. So that's my message from the Chaplain's Den. I hope that helps you. I hope that takes you to hope you take it to heart. And good luck and good God bless on your journey.